are live. All right.
Right there.
Woo-hoo. Here we go. Hey, how are you doing there, Michelle?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. My name is Shama. I'm the program director here at Girls and Geese. We have black belt legend Michelle Wagner with us.
Hi, guys. I'm in my non-jujitsu stuff, so I hope you recognize me.
I know. Where's your gi? I can't
It's
funny.
It's so funny. I don't have to do laundry. There's no gis to wash.
Oh God. How often are you doing laundry these days?
Well, you figure what, 4 or 5 gis a week?
Uh-huh.
And you're like doing 2 or 3 laundry loads because the gis take up a lot of space. And now I'm like once a week.
Oh,
and I don't even fill it.
Your energy bill has gone down for sure next month, the next couple months.
Oh yeah. You quit showering, you quit washing.
Right. Don't forget to pay the cable bill or Netflix bill or whatnot.
Yeah, I need my streaming. Other than that, I'm good.
So you're up in the Seattle area. How have things been going up there?
It's weird, but it's, I think a lot of people are adapting to it. I've seen a lot of good things and a lot of interesting things come out of it. But if you're like me and you have to burn your energy somehow, some way, you make do. So I converted my entire garage into a gym with mats.
No, awesome.
And then I dragged my poor husband down there to learn jujitsu. Like, you just need to do this. This is all you need to do. I'm going to do this. But a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. So it's just a huge transition. Everything went online. All our Zoom classes for jiu-jitsu, our Zoom classes for, well, I'm not going to say CrossFit, for our gym, all online now. So it's kind of nice in some ways because I don't go anywhere. But at the same time, I don't go anywhere. I'm going nuts.
So when was the last time you had some fresh air? You got some fresh air and sunlight?
2 weeks ago. So they opened up hiking again in the state, and we take it to the extreme. We go all the way to the other side of the state to Eastern Washington to hike because nobody hikes over there, or not really. West of the mountains is just packed. Like, if you're not there at 7 a.m, good luck getting a parking spot. So, but we go find our sunshine out in the mountains.
Awesome. Well, for you guys watching, this is how it works. We are doing our Ask a Black Belt segment. Ask Michelle a question, and then we will answer it live. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it kick-started. So you, correct me if I'm wrong, you're either the 11th or you're the 13th. 13th. Okay, 13th. Because there's the Dirty Dozen,
yeah,
and then there's the Women's Baker Dozen.
Yep.
So do you ever just be like, oh man, like I could have, like, so you're considered, you're the last of the Baker Dozen, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Yes.
If there's anybody else, they're a well-kept secret.
So what was jiu-jitsu like back in, and you've been up in the Pacific Northwest pretty consistently through your training from white to black, right?
Yep.
What was it like during that time, like coming up, or I'd say within your first 10 years of training? What was the landscape for jiu-jitsu in that area?
It was very minimal. It was interesting. There were very few places to go. We knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. And we had all trained together at one point in one fashion or another. We either took classes together, or we've crossed at each other's schools, because you could pretty much drop in anywhere you wanted to go because there were so few and everybody knew you. You could train anywhere, and it was easy. For the most part, I mean, it was really hard keeping a jiu-jitsu school up and running in the beginning. We spent a lot of time going from school to school, and it wasn't us leaving the school, it was the school leaving us. So we'd have to go find a new place and find someone else. We probably produced most of our current instructors at Blue Belt. They started running and teaching when they were Blue Belts and kind of grew up from there into Black Belts who run their own academies still to this day. So it's very interesting. We were all white belts at one time, and we had a Blue Belt walk in, and we're like, oh, oh my God, just bow down. We've got a blue belt. It was just like, oh, amazing. We didn't think anything could be better. We went down to our first Joe Morera tournament when I was a white belt. And so this was probably 1999. I'd been training for 6 months and I signed up and no idea what I was getting myself into. And we saw women purple belts walking around. We're just like, oh, look at that. And it was just, amazing. Just shock and awe. Now it's like you walk in, it's like, oh yeah, you're just a black belt. And you're like, we used to, you guys were gods to us when we were white belts. What the hell? So it's fun. It's so different now. It's actually a lot more relaxed too, because it's you're not you don't have that Brazilian pressure that we did. Mm-hmm. Where like, your school was number one and you showed everybody when they came in,
Mm-hmm.
People are a lot more aware.
I used to be on a team like that. My instructor started teaching at a blue belt. He was like I think he was the first or second person in Austin, Texas to introduce JiuJitsu to the area.
Oh, awesome.
And we were the best of the best because there was only one.
Yeah. If you can make it our school, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly. Hey. Oh, that's awesome. So who are some of the, like, okay, speaking of like people like, oh, worshiping, who are some of the people that you really looked up to? Like, I mean, back in those days, YouTube wasn't like a big jiu-jitsu resource as it is now.
No.
So you would just see the big names, I guess, as tournaments or if they came through on seminars. So who are some of the people that you looked up to in that time?
Back in that day, I looked up to Jiva Santana because he was actually one of our instructors up here as a white belt for a while. He was a great resource to know. He was just everything about him, his personality, his teachings, his command of the world was just, it was he's just a great person to look up to. He was just definitely one of those people. I have the worst time talking, by the way. Can you tell? I actually looked up to Leca Vera a lot. I met her in Brazil as a blue belt. She was selling t-shirts and I bought a couple off her. Bad boy, got to have bad boy shirts straight out of Brazil. Like they're not any more authentic than that. And I met her there and I watched her compete and I was just like, wow, this gal's a black belt. And it was just, I was just like, it can happen. It's for real. I don't really ever think I talked to her much. I trained at her school once when I was in Rio. And that was about the only time I've ever actually interacted. I bought t-shirts, I trained with her once and that was it. But I really looked up to her as just, it can be done, and she did it in Brazil. So.
Absolutely. She's someone that, I've talked to a couple of different, Hanette Stack. I talked to Hanette.
Oh, I love Hanette.
And Leticia. And both of them mentioned her. So for you guys listening, if you don't know who she is, she's kind of like the godmother of jiu-jitsu, especially as a competitor. She kind of really set the tone for what women can do in competition, and just in jiu-jitsu as a whole.
Yeah.
So we do have our first question, Michelle. Are you ready?
I'm kind of scared, but yeah.
Don't worry. I do edit these and censor out the bad ones. So first question we have is, let's see. What kind of, what should you do for core workouts or shooting imagery single legs every day? Do you have anything that you would recommend for that?
For just improving your single leg or your
shooting imaginary single legs. Sorry.
Wow. Well, you got a husband or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Why do you need to be imaginary?
I don't think they do. I think they're just going in there.
Teach them some break falls. I actually I do it mentally. I'll put a line on the mat, like like your mat's got a seam, right? It's a straight line, and I'll think about that's my partner who I've got to work on, and I will just go through my single leg motion, using that line as my guide, and I'll start slow to make sure that I'm not doing sloppy, like I don't drop my head and I'm not curving my back and I'm turning my corners.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just line it up like that. And I'll do it in drills like, okay, these 5 are good. Let's try 5 a little faster. Okay, let's see if I can get up to 20. Oh, if it feels sloppy, I back it up. But that's generally the way I will go about working on single legs if I can't find my husband.
What do you think is more important when trying to stay in the zone? Is it I guess I'm interpreting their question as, is it the technique, or is it like where you're at in your head? Like what would you say is the most important thing to kind of stay in that zone?
Of training in general, you think?
They said for both. So they said for normal times and quarantine times. So I think it's more of not a competition question, but more of just kind of normal.
That's actually a really good question. When I'm actively training, pre-quarantine time, I was getting ready to get back into competition. So I've been focused since October, and pushing myself harder than I have in probably 6 or 7 years. COVID comes along, and I found it very hard to stay in that zone. I had to find that I had to force myself to go out on that mat and beat up my dummy Wayne religiously as much as I could. It's a struggle. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably mentally struggling. How do I stay into the zone to do this? The only thing that kept me going is I know that there's at least going to be 2 of my guys that are probably training every day at the same intensity they were before COVID. And I know I'm going to have to come back and deal with those 2. So I need to, have myself as close to them as I can so I don't die the first day. But it's you got to do it. Yeah, you got to drag yourself down there and do it. Even if it's just watching TV, there's no reason you can't do 20 like stand to base or 20 hip escapes, something right there. It's just make yourself do it.
Absolutely. So what competitions were you kind of honing in on there?
I was signed up for Pan Ams.
Nice.
So, yep. And I actually had 2 other women in my bracket. So I was really excited because I come from the day where if you signed up for a competition, you might get a fight. And it didn't necessarily matter what size they were or what belt they had. You were lucky if you got a fight. So last time I competed in the Pan Ams, I was a purple belt, and it was the first year the purple, brown, and blacks competed together, and I lost my first match because it was a horrible match for me in every possible way. But I was like ready to go. I got signed up. I had also along the way leading up to the Pan Ams this year, I had signed up for 2 other tournaments that both got canceled. So I'm 0-3 because I just can't get to the mat.
Oh, you came into 2020 already losing.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? I turned 50 last year, so I was like, that was my big comeback. I'm 50. I'm still doing jiu-jitsu. I still refuse to act like a grown-up, so I'm going to do this.
Heck yeah. Well, the Master Worlds, hopefully they do it next year, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this year. Who knows? I don't know how big a tournament it is for them profit-wise. I'm sure they're going to have to pick and choose.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but yeah. I'm just assuming this year's a wash. I don't see a lot happening.
No, not really. So, did you, I know you said, and I kind of came in much like later than you, of course, but I do remember the days of where I had a brown belt, a blue belt, a white belt, all weights, all ages, everything, one division. And I know a lot of women actually chose to fight the guys division because they would actually get more matches. Did you end up doing that often?
Oh yeah, I did. I did it once. And my first partner was a state champion, wrestling champion. I had been training maybe 3 months as a white belt, and I got destroyed. But yeah, I did it. So
no. I remember Hillary Williams. I think she was one that did. She just fought everybody. Do you remember her?
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Honestly, if as long as if you're confident in yourself, do it. you know, and you're going to know right away. Your spidey sense is going to be tingling right away. If you knew it was a bad decision, you still have time to tap. So it's like, oh shit, you know,
Like,
Mr. No Neck comes out there. You're like, I'm dead, you know. But
Yeah.
you roll in class against the guys, and sure you have a few guys that hold back, but you have a few guys that don't hold back. So you know you know how it's going to go. So if you do okay in class, you do okay on the mat.
No.
So.
What do you have? Do you have any regrets looking back at anything in jujitsu? Like at any part, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently, or the opportunity you didn't take advantage of, or it's a hard one.
Yeah, because there's nothing major that I kick myself for. There's like several little things. Had I known now what I knew then, I was just happy to be training. I would not have gotten married. I was married before, and it didn't last very long because I think somewhere along the way he said you need to choose me or jujitsu, and I chose jujitsu. So
Yeah.
it's like it was there long before you, and it will be there long after you. So
Yeah, it's one of the, it's hard, you know. They know what they're getting into. It's like an age old, like we did a podcast with Christina Barlone, Aaron Hurley, and Nikki Sullivan, and they're all young, you know, they're in their 30s.
Those girls are hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, they're great. And so we're talking about like dating and talking to guys that don't do jujitsu, and they're like, you don't want to date the guys in jujitsu because of whatever reasons, and then you don't know how to talk to guys who don't do jujitsu, and then they don't understand about like, no, I'm going to be on the mats all the time. So
yeah,
it is hard. Does your current husband train at all? Or I know you mentioned training with him a little bit.
He does not train. He will get down there and work on stuff with me. So he's great about that, but he just has never been interested in it. And I've dragged him into a few classes. I had him help me with a few privates because sometimes you just need a partner. And he'll do it with a smile and more than happy, but he's just not into it. But he gives me no grief at all. If I train every waking hour of the week, he's okay with that.
That's awesome. Does he have any passions that are like that he's into, things that kind of feel that he's like, as much as your jujitsu fills your time, like cycling or anything? Or
he is very athletic, so he can do everything naturally. I hate him for it just because he's like, oh, you want to run a marathon, and he'll just go without any effort. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? But he's a very avid fitness person. He loves to hike as well, but his passion right now is a YouTube channel called Broke Overland.
What is
and
that?
I'm pushing this channel. He bought us an LMTV, and he's converting it into a camper.
Oh, nice.
So basically, we're making an overland vehicle with a full habitat that we can travel around and live off grid in. So that's his passion. Yeah, he has always wanted to do that, and I found out because he woke me up at 5:30 in the morning one day going, oh my God, I won the auction. Then I'm like, what'd you win? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not wearing headphones to ride around in that thing.
No. Oh, that's excellent. Moving forward, what are some of your goals? Maybe not even like, what are some of your goals, and how does if they're not jujitsu related, how does jujitsu play into them?
Well, other than I know that we're going to be taking a road trip for about a year to drive around the United States, my goal is to start traveling for jujitsu again. I want to start doing seminars. I want to drop in and train at schools. It's one of the things I missed about the old days is, hi, I'm from Seattle and I want to train, and everybody was so happy to have you. I don't know if that's still a thing. We get a lot of visitors at our school and we love it. But that's one of my goals is I want to start doing some seminars, start competing, but just get out there and start training outside of our state. Just enjoy jujitsu everywhere.
Absolutely. And there are places out there, I'll tell you, that I traveled a lot with girls and geese over the past like 5 years, and there's definitely It definitely does exist out there in a lot of places. I think you'd be really happy in going out there and doing that and just being able to train and make some money along the way, teaching seminars.
Give
So
me
if
enough to eat and I'm happy.
Awesome, awesome. Well, cool. Well, it was such a pleasure talking with you today. Let me see if we have any other questions. We got lots of comments. People are giving you some love, Michelle. Becca says, Michelle, you are the coolest.
Becca, she's one of my, I have some great training partners at Foster's. Becca, Katie, Elena, they're just amazing ladies. A shout out to Foster's gals.
No, you definitely have a crew. I love coming up there and training with you guys at Foster's. It's definitely one of my favorite places to go when I'm in Seattle.
And we keep it rated G, so we try.
We try. What is your favorite memory from Jiu-Jitsu so far? That's another one we got in right now.
There's a few, but I want to say my most recent was my third degree promotion, because my coach, James Foster, we were white belts together on the mat. We grew up through the system together. We went down for the Pan Ams, and he managed to get together a crew with our professor Jiva to give me my third degree at One Jiu-Jitsu while I was down there. And it was great. I felt great because I felt like it was my birthday, because I went down and they took me to Shully Roll and they let me pick out some gis. They patched them for me, and then they took me, we went to the Pan Ams for a little while, and then we went into the school and got promotion. And I thought that was just really cool. It was, I don't know, I can't think of a time I've ever had a promotion that was so amazing. So that's the most recent one I can think of.
One more we got was, how do you work through your frustrations when you're training, like when you're on the mats? How do you kind of work through that mentally, I guess, physically, everything?
Mentally, I like immediately go exactly where this person's head's probably going, because you get there in that position, you're like, why am I losing? We have a blue belt. If she gets on top of you, life is hell. I think it's great, but I hate it, because it's like, because she's really good. She's mastering it, and it's just like, this is fantastic, but damn it. But mentally, I just remember it's okay to lose. Like if I'm trying my best, if I'm not trying at all, I'm not going to learn. So I'm going to try my best. And if I still lose, I didn't quit. I tried. And I know I'm going to get better, but I'm going to remember why I couldn't do it. And I'm going to drill it over and over again until I get it much more efficiently, much better. I already forgot the question. How do I deal with frustration?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And I'm sober. I'm sorry. I don't know. I have such great training partners that if you want to break out in tears and just start punching them in the shoulder, they're good. They don't care. Like, they know, been there, done that. But it's like you can sense, and they're really good with working with you on it if we get that frustrated. I know when I'm working with a gal, especially a new gal, or even the new guys, you can feel that frustration when you're working with them. So you're like, okay, let's tone it down so they can like win, they can achieve some of their goals, but still learn along the way. So it's there. I come home. I never come home mad. I've never left jiu-jitsu mad. I have left jiu-jitsu exhausted and wondering if I was going to make it home without falling asleep, but never mad.
No, absolutely. What is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in jiu-jitsu? Like, and it could transfer over to it's something that you use in life, or it could just transfer something just get on the mats.
Jiu-jitsu humbled me drastically. Jiu-jitsu saved my life, because I couldn't imagine where I would be today if I hadn't found jiu-jitsu along the way. I was a manager of a car audio store, and the goal was to see how drunk you could get every day, because that's what people in the 20s do, right? And to this day, I don't know what person I would have been if I hadn't started jiu-jitsu and changed my goals, changed my life's perspective. It was really humbling. I mean, I had a mouth. I was very confident. So jiu-jitsu taught me very quickly to be humble.
How do you deal with folks that say are rolling a little bit more aggressively than you want to? Do you have any tricks to this? Any tactics or advice you could dish out for us folks?
Some of them I'll just lay there like a doll, but I usually will compliment them on their strength the entire time. So, and I do this because I was a black belt, and back in the day I was with Gracie Baugh, and I had traveled down to Irvine to train with Carlos, the big guy there, and I rolled with him, and I got done, and he's like, "Wow, you're really strong," and I was like, "Oh, damn," like you want, you're like, is that good or bad? Like when you say someone's strong, it usually means their technique's not that great. And so when I'm rolling with that person here, or anywhere, and they're just doing, I'm just like, you are so strong, and I'll let them get through their moment, and I'll be like, okay, now I need to get out of here.
And we're done.
Yeah. Just turtle up for 5 minutes. If you can break my turtle, you've won.
What is your impression of purple belts?
Did that question come from Katie?
No.
Becca? Purple belts and let's just say they know everything. Just ask them.
I think you've explained this purple belt thing to me before. Now that we're talking about it.
Oh, if there's like ever a class where I get the most grief, and by grief I get the most questions or the most, but what if I don't need to do the warm-ups, it's always a purple belt, like every time. And right then and there I'm like, oh yeah, you're a purple belt. That's right. It's all good fun. It's all, it's all good jokes and good fun. But I just laugh because it's always the purple belt. Great.
Without fail.
Yeah. Oh, hey, warm-ups are done.
So do you, when you teach, do you prefer teaching beginners or intermediate, advanced? What do you prefer? Kids?
I don't prefer kids. They scare me. They're more mature than I am. I go back and forth. I love teaching intermediate because you can bring it up a level. Like every class I teach, we do stand up. Every single class we start stand up. And if it's new people, you can start stand up, but it's so different, right? You've got to start, can you break a fall? But you got to start with very basic. So sometimes there's a lot of rinse and repeat before you can get them to the right level. One of the beauties of having a school with good students and a lot of students is that maturity level comes up quickly. So, you're like, you compare them off with the right people, the learning comes faster, and then you can take it to that next level.
Absolutely. Well, awesome, Michelle. Thank you so much. You survived Ask a Black Belt. I told you it would be painful.
And I don't think I swore once, so that's
I think we got one S1 out of you. It's okay.
Yeah, if you put a kid on, it'll get worse, I promise. The harder I try, the worse it gets.
No, it was really good having you on. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you everyone for participating and tuning in. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
All right. Thank you guys.